Hi there, welcome to this week's Stocks in Focus. Now, today's video will be slightly different than the usual one, right? We have been covering quite a bit of stocks in relation to the semiconductor industry. But today's video over here, this week's Stocks in Focus episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about a potential turnaround company. Okay, and the idea of a turnaround company is basically it has been beaten quite badly in the recent years or even recently. Okay, and the stock market has been falling quite a bit. However, there might be a certain catalyst or even certain factors that's turning around where this company might start to have that potential of picking back up. And that's what we call a turnaround, right? Basically, a company that has been dumb, seen as a very terrible company recently might have a slight change to that perspective. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my computer screen, show you what I'm seeing, walk you through some of the little details that I've picked up, and share with you what this particular company really is. Right, so over here, the company that I would like to share with you in this episode is GoPro. Okay, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with this company. Okay, now I'm quite confident that even if you don't use its product, you probably hear about it, right? So it's the company basically produces kind of action video cameras, and most of the time it's for like extreme sports, right? It has been quite badly affected recently. I mean, it IPO back in 2014. It had a massive run, and after that, the entire stock price actually collapsed, right? So let me bring you to like the daily scale on the technical chart of things, and you can see, back in 2014 when it IPO, the stock actually shot up. After that, it went as high as $100 and it came all the way down to like below $10, and it has been maintaining below $10 or $15 for many years, right? All the way until even today it's trading below $10. Okay. However, there's a interesting angle to GoPro recently. Okay, and there might be a change in the catalyst where we might see a turnaround in GoPro. Okay, so let me share with you a little bit on the different perspective that I'm looking at. Of course, this video we're not probably going to go into very detailed kind of analysis, but the objective over here is to bring up this company, okay, to bring your attention to it. So if you're keen, definitely you need to do a little bit more research on your site as well. Okay, so first up over here, I put in a very quick quantitative scoring in terms of the fundamentals of GoPro. Okay, it's not that terrible, but it's also not a very high score company. Okay. To me, a 10 out of 21 score in fundamental is not an investable company, right? But of course, today we're not talking about GoPro being a solid company where you want to invest, but the thematic over here is a turnaround play. Okay, so basically is where no one is looking right now, no one is interested really into it, but there is that sign where it can, rocket back up. Okay, and that's what we want to look out for. Okay, so having a 10 out of 21 as of now is not that terrible, but you need to see sign of improvement if it's gonna turn into a solid investable company. Okay, so that's a quick one on it. Of course, I'm not expecting it to give us a very high score because we're looking at a turnaround. Okay, now if you take a look at the some numbers in terms of like the financial summary of GoPro, okay, it's not performing very well up to like recently. Okay, so if you take a look at its annual report, right, it has been making losses all the way, even like the last reported in December 2020, it's still making a net income of negative 66, which is basically a loss. Okay, however, the balance sheet is picking up. Okay, you can see it's positive equity as well as change in cash is fairly interesting, right? Last year it has an increase of 177 in millions, of course, net change in cash, which is positive, which is great. Okay, because you take a look at 2019, 2018, 2017, basically it's not very healthy. Okay, and there's a huge cash from operating activities in terms of increment as compared to some of the previous years as well. Okay, but of course that's not the main reason why we're talking about it. there is kind of like a structural change in GoPro kind of business angle as well. Okay, so if you're not familiar with it, I think two catalysts here I'm going to share it with you. Okay, first up over here is GoPro has actually entered into a subscription model. So you can see quite a lot of businesses are actually entering into this kind of model as well, right? Where you have recurring revenue for the business like Netflix, even Apple went into subscription. Okay, if you take a look, like even Microsoft Offices, right? Adobe Creative, many of these software companies in the past, it was a one-time sale, but right now they are actually going into subscription. Okay, so GoPro actually took that, and that helped the company significantly, at least since the pandemic lockdown, right? The sales has actually pushed up because of the subscription, and that is pure, I would say, earnings for the company, because there isn't much of a cost, right? So once you acquire the customer, if the customer continues to stay with you after, you know, the first year, the second year, subsequent years, basically it becomes pure net profit. Okay, and that is one of the catalysts that potentially can be a turnaround. Okay, I mean, there are many articles that potentially talk about this as well. So if you're interested to go into a little bit more details onto that, do research a little bit more into it. Okay, so you can see over here another article that talks about how the subscription business in GoPro is for real. Okay, so a quick summary on this article, you can see, right, GoPro has continued to show its turnaround. It's underway in its Q2 this year. Okay, showing the largest outperformance in the last several years. Okay, so the question again, can this subscription model be the turnaround factor for GoPro? Okay, and of course over here you can see, okay, it talks about how the subscription service is helping them. Okay, and the traction on the turnaround is proven by its 40% gross margin. And of course this is fairly interesting, right? For a company that has been beaten down badly, and right now it seems to be a good turnaround potential. Okay, so do give it a read in terms of like this articles over here. Of course, Wall Street Journal also did talk about it, right? You can see here, GoPro flies high on service swing. Okay, so from just selling cameras, they're right now going into services like subscription model. Okay, but this does not mean it's an immediate buy into GoPro. Okay, this is just a potential where likely we might see a turnaround in the stock if this subscription model actually takes off and is able to sustain itself after this year. Okay, so that's very important. Now, I think another important aspect that I would like to bring it up on for you guys to be aware of is that it's fairly interesting that GoPro, a company, okay, has over 1,000 granted patents. Okay, and this is significant, right? Because if a company actually has multiple patents, it kind of like increases the barrier of entry for new competitions, right? Of course, if you really want to dive deep into it, you need to go and study also, like, is this 1,000 patents really that significant, or are they just, you know, like small things also they counted as one? Okay, so this is of course you know, I'm not telling you guys to like immediately jump into GoPro, but just bringing all these factors in, it is very interesting to start looking up for that. Okay, so I think the two main part here is you probably need to go and do a little bit more research. Is number one, the patents over here, right? Whether is it gonna be a significant barrier of entry or a significant unique point for GoPro moving forward, of course. The second one, which is the subscription model, is it going to be sustainable? Can they continue on and see growth from that business, right? So these are the two main catalysts. All right, now if I bring you to the technical chart, okay, we have seen how GoPro stock price has been beaten down, you know, from the high of as high as close to $100, and of course over here we see some intermediate high around $65 as well. Okay, now of course we don't expect like overnight the stock price to take off and hit towards 65, but just think about it, right? Even if it doesn't go 65, let's say we take this here, okay, maybe around $37, $35, right? Right now it's trading just below 10. Now what if it just goes to 30? Okay, that's a 3x return on this company. Okay, and that's equivalent to like a 300% return. Okay, the possibility might be there. Okay, and right now why I want to bring this up is because the media probably is not picking this up yet because it's not sexy enough, it's not hype up enough for the media to really talk about this company, and that's exactly the time when you want to start doing your research and maybe positioning yourself if you're keen into that. Okay, because when the mass market starts to hear about it and they start pumping money into it, the stock will probably start rising very fast, and you want to be in before that happens. Okay, so right now if I bring you to the 4-hour time frame, a little bit on the technical analysis portion of this as well. Okay, you do see that we have kind of like a very decent corrective pattern. I mean, depending on how I want to put this, there is the smaller scale one here as well as the larger, okay, kind of like I would say wedge in a way. Okay, so you can see the smaller one is this, so you get an impulse push here, you get a slight slow correction coming down. Maybe this can come down a little bit more to form that kind of double bottom before that push. Okay, and then you have this bigger one here as well. Okay, so overall I think from a technical point of view, we are looking at an opportunity to get involved as well. Okay, so from a technical chart, it shows sign that yes, this can go higher. From the fundamental perspective, the catalyst that potentially can turn around GoPro, it's there, okay, but you still need to, of course, keep an eye on that, okay, because it might be a one-hit wonder, we never know. Okay, so in summary, okay, I would say GoPro over here, if it fits into your style, if today you're looking for maybe a turnaround play in your portfolio, GoPro would fit that perfectly into one of your watch lists, hopefully. Okay, however, if today you're not like interested in a turnaround company, that's not part of a strategy, then do have the discipline to follow your strategy. Yeah, so over here I'll be continuously I would say monitoring to GoPro from a technical point of view, as well as to keep track of what's happening from a fundamental perspective. Because right now we do only have like 1 quarter of huge sales, revenue. Okay, I want to see can that be sustained maybe for the next 2 quarters. If it is, then yes, I think there's a very huge opportunity on GoPro over here. Okay, so with that, I hope this little video here, this week's Stocks in Focus episode, do give you some different insights, right? Again, this is not a trade call, this is not an investment call. Okay, if you're today investing in trading the stock market, you do need to have a very solid strategy and thesis for every decision that you make. Okay, so do make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, and the objective of this video is really to share with you some interesting things that I've came across and some of those that I'm personally looking out for. Okay, so if this is a video that's able to help you, do click on the like button to help me, and of course YouTube algorithm to reach out to more people. If you're also monitoring on GoPro, or if you have any different insights about GoPro, do share it in the comments below as well. Alright, so with that, all the best to your investing journey, and I'll talk to you guys soon again.